Hi beautiful, welcome to my channel. In today's video we are going to be doing a rankings video. I've tried quite a few palettes during the summertime and today I'm going to rank them all. I have palettes in front of me from some of my favorite brands and some others that I'm just kind of dabbling into, and I cannot wait to show you how these rank for me. If you like palette videos, I have made dedicated videos to all of these, I'm pretty sure. I have done tutorials with every single one of these palettes. I've talked about them extensively here on the channel. I've done swatches, etc. So if you're interested in any of these, definitely check that video out. And if you're interested in palette videos in general, don't forget to subscribe to my channel before you leave, because that is my favorite subject. Anyways, I have 12 palettes to rank, so let's go ahead and get started. Me from the end of the video here to tell you that Refer brushes are currently buy one get one free, so you can get them for up to 50% off, and the link is down in the description box. As I usually say with these types of videos, I rank my palettes on my level of excitement on them, so don't try to find a perfect logic to my organizing them. It is simply the ones that I'm least excited about to the ones that I'm most excited about, and I will tell you some of the reasons that make me excited about my palettes, but like I said, there's just no perfect logic to my excitement. Besides that, I will of course have all of these palettes listed and linked down in the description box of this video, so if you're interested in shopping any of these, please use my links down there. Okay, so at number 12, the bottom of the list, unfortunately, I have this palette right here. This is the Too Faced Better Than Chocolate palette, and here is what the inside of this palette looks like. Pretty gorgeous. I know, that is the reason I bought it. I was really attracted to this one. I'm like, it's got some nice neutral shades, but it actually also has some pops of color in it. I truly thought that I was going to love it. And it's not a terrible palette. None of these palettes that I have in front of me are. This one is an acceptable palette, we'll call it. It has Too Faced regular formula that they've had for years, but I feel like their formula is now falling short with new product formulations that are out. What I mean is I feel like this formula was really beautiful and acceptable maybe like 6 to 7 years ago, but a lot of the brands that Too Faced is now competing with have much better, more pigmented, more impactful formulas in their shadows, and so it makes their formula they've had for years fall a little bit short. They just need to upgrade. They need to come out with something a little bit better. They need to give us a little bit more. Anyways, color story wise, the reason that this one's a little bit lower on my list is because a lot of the colors are a little bit repetitive. Like these browns right here, these colors that are like mid-tone browns, there's a lot of them with very slight variations in their undertone. And then besides that, the thing that excited me the most about this palette was definitely the jewel tone shades right here. I was like, this with the brown shades, it's going to look spectacular, right? Well, wrong, because as you can see, there is barely any pigmentation on those shades. And this is me really rubbing my finger in both of these. Let's do one more. This one actually I think is a better formula than those two. Take a look right there. See, this one's a little bit better, but these two, such a huge disappointment. And literally the main reason I was excited about this palette was because of those pops of color, and so without those pops of color being able to perform good, then I just don't think that this palette is worth it. So unfortunately the Too Faced Better Than Chocolate palette just fell short for me. It just was not what I was expecting, and like I was saying, I just feel like Too Faced needs to update their formula, kind of get with the times. We want the shimmer, we want the sparkle, and we particularly would like the pigmentation, you know? So let's move on to palette number 11. And I'm really sorry to say it, but at number 11 I have this one right here. This is my Makiage and Kathleen Lights palette. This one is very new to me. I've only used it like 3 times when I filmed the video, and then one other time not filming, and this is what the inside of this palette looks like. I adore Kathleen Lights. Let's just put that out there. Adore her. She's Cuban like me, she is funny, and she's a huge influencer. I wish her all of the success in the world. Whenever she comes out with another collaboration, I will probably still buy it. But this one here, unfortunately, was not what I was expecting. I have a similar issue with this one as I do with the Too Faced palette. All of these shades in the middle are a little bit too monotone, a little bit too repetitive. Like, look at these shade and that shade. So similar to one another. This one's not that far off, and then these two browns, slightly different undertone but very, very similar. This gold shade and this gold shade here also kind of look the same. I do definitely admit that the formula in this palette is really good. These are actually really beautiful and pigmented shades. You can see it right there. Very beautiful, very pigmented, nice and shiny as well. But the color story just kind of fell a little bit short for me. Again, I just wish that a lot of these mattes right here were in the exact same tone. And the same thing goes to these shimmer shades right here. They're so close to one another. I feel like a palette with this much real estate should definitely be a little bit more versatile, and I have a lot of very versatile palettes coming ahead of this one. So like I said, it's not a bad palette. I do actually like it, but in comparison to the rest, it just gets me a little bit less excited because I simply wish that I could do more with this one. At number 10, I have this one right here. This is the Amulet palette from Adept Cosmetics, and I love Adept Cosmetics eyeshadow formulas. This palette has some amazing formulas in it. Let me show you a picture of my thumbnail when I did looks with it, because the looks that I created with this palette, very, very beautiful. The reason this palette is a little bit lower on the list is mainly it doesn't get me as excited as the ones I have in front of it, obviously. Besides that, the only other thing I can think of why this palette doesn't make me as excited is I feel like the matte shades don't transition well into one another, if that makes sense. Like this deep blue right here, I feel like I could transition it maybe with the gray, but I don't have a color in the middle that goes together to blend those nicely. I feel the same about this shade right here, this purpley shade. I'm not sure what color to transition that one out with. Like, I don't know, I feel like this color right here would be a good transition shade, but it's a very warm transition shade, and then the colors that I can kind of put on top of it are very cool tone colors. So in my mind, that just doesn't work as well. And like I said, I created really beautiful looks with this one, but this is kind of like how I see it and why it makes me a little bit less excited than the other ones. Besides that, this palette has some amazing shades. I love the pigmentation of Adept Cosmetics. Look at those shimmers. Let me show you one more. This one here is really, really beautiful as well. Blinding. I really do love their shimmer shades. These two colors are a little bit close to one another, but I can live with that. I feel like my main issue with this one is the mattes and, you know, that undertone discrepancy I spoke of. That's all I got for this one. Besides that, it is a beautiful palette and I do really love it, but that's kind of my explanation as to why it's my number 10. At number 9, I have a palette that I used very recently. I've only done one look with this one, I believe, and it is this stunning palette right here. This is from Fantasy Cosmetica and it is called the Sorcerer palette. For some reason I thought it was Sorceress, but just kidding. Anyways, the reason this one is my number 9 pick is because it is a very, very colorful palette, and while I do love me some color, I don't like the neon colors like this one to wear on a daily basis. It's not a color that I'm particularly attracted to. And so when I did create a look with this palette, I used this transition shade, darkened it up with this one, and then intensified it with this one. And this color right here made everything a little bit brighter than I would prefer. And so for that reason, for a standalone palette, I feel like I wouldn't reach for this one as much. And then besides that, I do want to show you the formula of these shades because these are some of the most creamy shimmers and more intense shimmers I've seen. And Fantasy Cosmetica is doing a killer job when it comes to their shimmer shades. I love this formula so much. I think I have a discount code with them if you're into super bright colors like this one. PATTY10 will save you, I think, 10% off on this palette. and it is beautiful, beautiful formulas. Again, the reason it's not as exciting to me as the rest of them is because I'm just not this colorful of a person on a daily basis. Just take a look right here though at these finger swatches and tell me those are not some of the most beautiful shimmers you've seen. I am obsessed with this formula. These two colors right here are so creamy, they feel wet on the pan. I love them. Look at that. Obsessed. Obsessed. My number 8 is a Natasha Denona palette. This little bitty one right here, this is the Natasha Denona mini bronze palette. This one came out recently. It is a perfect summer launch, nice and bronzy for sure, and it is actually a palette that I do really enjoy. I like it. It has 4 beautiful, very, very creamy matte formulas and a stunning gold shade in the center. The reason it's not further up, the reason it's not more exciting to me per se, is because you can get a couple of very specific looks with this one, and that's about it. It's not a very versatile palette, but it does have Natasha Denona's amazing formula. The matte shades are super blendable, super creamy, very, very soft. I love it. It's just that, like I said, it's a 5-pan palette, not much variety within the 5 shades. They kind of look very similar to one another. If I could change anything about it, I would put a different shade here instead of this one. Leave this one because I like this kind of matte shade better, a little bit more neutral, and change this warm one for something else. Maybe an inner corner shade, which this palette is missing. I don't know. That's kind of my little critique on it. Not much I can say because it is a really stunning palette. And if you like bronzy looks but not enough to go for a monochromatic bronze palette like the bigger Natasha Denona bronze palette, this one here is definitely a really great option. And you can get some beautiful Natasha Denona shades that you can use on a daily basis for less than $30. At number 7, and this one kind of surprised me because I am very excited about this one, and I kind of wanted to put it like further up on my list, but the rest of these are so good. Anyways, number 7 is this one. This is the new Love Fest palette from Huda Beauty, and this palette is absolutely stunning. First of all, I love the shimmer purple shades. Love these. Even the swirly shade, which I thought might be questionable, has really good pigmentation in it, and I love these types of shades. Especially this cool tone purple look right here in the middle. It's lovely. Besides that, even though this is an Obsessions palette from Huda Beauty, in which the formulas sometimes can be a little bit inconsistent. Huda's Obsessions palettes have traditionally always had inconsistent formulas. The formula of this one is actually amazing. All of the mattes perform so good. They are creamy, they are pigmented, they are extremely soft, extremely blendable. Nothing bad to say about it. It is a beautiful palette with a beautiful color story and a beautiful formula. For some reason, the rest of these are even better in my opinion. They excite me even more. I will say a lot of them are bigger too, so you can get even more looks with them. But yeah, nothing bad to say about it. I think the only way this palette would excite me more is if it didn't have this much warmth in it. For some reason, lately, I have just not been attracted to orangey shades like these. But the rest of the shades in the palette I love, and I even created a beautiful look with those too. It's just, I don't know, they're not what I'm looking for lately. So that is the reason that this one is number 7. Moving on to number 6. Number 6 is actually a palette from a brand that is new to me. I had never tried Glaminatrix Cosmetics before, and they sent me this stunning palette here. And I mean, the color story is right up my alley. I just love the mauvey shades, the burgundies, the shimmers. The formulas in this palette are incredible, and I am a sucker for a little bit of a green contrast as well. Let me show you some swatches of this palette because it is incredible. Just take a look right there at the incredible shine that these shimmer shades have. I love them. And it doesn't just stop there. These matte colors, also incredible. Very pigmented, very blendable, very creamy. And the palette just has a fantastic color story, not a flaw on this one. There's literally nothing negative I can say about this one at all. I love every single thing about this palette, but I do also like every single thing about the rest of the palettes I'm going to talk about next, and I guess they make me a little bit more excited than this one for some reason, so let's talk about those. Drum roll please for the top 5 palettes that I have tried during summer 2022. At number 5 we have the stunning Anastasia Novo palette. Take a look at the inside of this one. This palette is just gorgeous. It has some really stunning shades in it. I did create a 5 looks 1 palette with this one if you guys are interested. And I loved how at the beginning of my 5 looks 1 palette, I was like, this purple is such a random color in here, and I was like talking all my shit about the purple and how like it didn't look cohesive with the rest of the colors in the palette, and I ended up using that purple for I think either 3 or 4 out of the 5 looks that I created in that video. And the reason was that I feel like the purple actually does match the rest of the shades. It has a similar undertone. This palette has a lot of cool tones in it, but besides that, it gave every single look that I put it in such a beautiful edge. It made it just a little bit different, a little bit more exciting. And so I actually love that they put that purple shade in the palette. Besides that, the palette has incredible shades with incredible pigmentation. I do think Anastasia made their formula a little bit better than it used to be. It definitely has a better color payoff. It's not as powderless, we'll say, as some of the other formulas that I love, like Natasha Denona or Pat McGrath. They have pigmented shades that aren't too powdery. Anastasia's shades are still a little bit powderier than those, but I could totally use this palette while having makeup on my face and I wouldn't get it all over the place. The shades are pigmented, they're blendable, and I just love the color story. Like I said, I'm not going to say anything negative about any of the palettes I have left because I love them all, and this one was definitely a hit. Also still obsessed with the packaging, it's so pretty. At number 4, I have a palette that is a breath of fresh air. That's kind of how I see it. It inspires me, it is colorful, it is beautiful, it is soft, all at the same time. It is a palette from Nomad Cosmetics. It is the Fêtes de Provence palette. I'm actually wearing one shade from this palette today. The transition crease shade I have on is this purpley shade right here. But anyways, the reason I love this palette is because this palette has a beautiful, soft, and also colorful story. The formulas of every single one of these shades is amazing. I do also have a discount code with Nomad, also PATTY10 for 10% off. Anyways, the formulas are beautiful. I'm obsessed with this yellow shade in the center here. It is such a stunning yellow shade. So shiny, so pigmented. This one here on the corner I also really love. But anyways, let me get to my point. I feel like this palette is perfect if you want to try color but you're not ready for full-on pigment colorful eye looks. You just want to dabble into like a little bit of a peach, a little bit of a purple, a little bit of a pink, a little bit of a cool tone blue per se. Let me show you some of the looks that I created with this one from the thumbnail of the video. I feel like the looks are colorful but they're soft all at the same time. It is a beautiful palette for the summer season, the spring season, which I know already passed, but still beautiful spring summer palette. It inspires me to play with color, and I mean, what else could I ask for? I don't know, it makes me really excited. It makes me want to reach for it. I just love the color story that this Nomad palette has, and it also has some really beautiful shades in it. So this one right here is number 4. Now number 3 is colorful, not for the faint of heart, and I really was not expecting to like this palette as much as I like it, but I love it. I am talking about the new Michaela palette, Michaela's PATTY10 palette. I adore Michaela, but she can sometimes be a little bit more colorful than I am, and so when I saw this palette, I definitely wanted to support her, but I was a little bit intimidated by this color story, and I had such a fun time creating 3 looks with this palette for my video. And even today I reached for a bunch of these purple shades to create this look right here, and I love it. Every single look that I've made with this palette is a look that I love, is a look that comes out cohesive, is a look that I can create with such ease. The matte shades in this palette are beautiful and they're very blendable, which I was scared of because I had some trouble with some of the shades from her first collaboration with Glamlight, where they weren't blended as easily as I wanted them to blend. But that is not an issue with this palette at all. It blends beautifully and it has some of the most stunning shimmer shades I have ever seen. And I have some palettes with some stunning shimmer shades, but these are amazing. This one here, I love the deep ones. Let's go for this one. Just take a look right here at the absolutely stunning jewel tone shades that you can find in this Michaela palette. And now think all the way back to what I said about the Too Faced palette we swatched at the beginning and compare. This is what I mean by Too Faced needs to get with the times, because palettes like these are competing with Too Faced and obviously they cannot win with that formula. That formula is very 10 years ago and we are in a different makeup market right now, which I am thankful for because it is very competitive, and that competitiveness has brought out some amazing quality from different brands. Anyways, I'm not going to go down that tangent. But just take a look at this beautiful palette. I know that this is very colorful, not for the faint of heart, but this palette is a palette that actually excites me to play with color. In today's look, I used a little bit of Mama Wong, I used a little bit of Mimu, a little bit of Authenticity, and I even used a little bit of Body. And just take a look right here. I love it. I combined those with that transition shade from the previous palette I showed you. And even when I played with like the greens in this palette and the blues, I loved the shades. I don't know, this palette, spectacular. I love it. And I'm very excited about it. So this is number 3. Before my excitement lets me forget, the only issue I had with this one is that it's kind of a pre-order. When you place an order, it takes a whole month to get to you. So buyer beware. I was just debating if I should switch my number 2 to number 1 and my number 1 to number 2. I was really like looking at them side by side, comparing my level of excitement to see, but I'm going to leave it as I had it. And my number 2 most favorite palette that I tried this summer is this one right here. This is the Pat McGrath Mothership number 10. Here's what the box looks like. Beautiful, lovely, very luxurious. This palette is a pretty penny, $128. And the reason I love this palette so much and that it excites me is because Pat McGrath provides us with some of the best formulas on the market, some of the best shades, the most luxurious formulas, also very luxurious packaging, which contributes to my level of excitement. But anyways, these right here are called her Blitz Astral shades, and these shades have a really intense level of shimmer in them. Let me swatch them for you. Take a look at the beautiful shimmers this palette has. These are some stunning glimmery, shimmery shades. So not only do they have the shine, but they have the glitter sparkles in it. And I am wearing this one right here on my eyelids at the moment. Let's touch it up. Add a little more right there. Let's not waste it. Anyways, just look at my eyes. See how they sparkle? That is one of the main reasons I am so excited for this palette. This shade right here, trust me, the camera does not do it justice. It does it a little bit more justice when it's on the eyes than on the pan, but it is such a beautiful multi-chromatic shade. It's got blue and silver and purple and like burgundy in it. It is such a beautiful, beautiful shade that will go with so many other shades. I paired it with some purples today just to like try something different, and I love it. By the way, tomorrow's video will have the tutorial for this look if anyone's interested. I did mix my palettes as you saw. And then obviously Pat also provides us with some of the best matte shades ever. These 3 matte shades right here are very creamy, very pigmented, but they also blend with such ease. You can use them very intense the way they swatch on my fingers right there, or you can blend them all the way out to be almost a transition shade. You can really smoke these shades out to be nothing or build them up to be everything. They are extremely versatile, and I love that about Pat McGrath's formula. So I'm very excited about Mothership number 10. I have been since it came out. I did also do a 5 looks 1 palette with this one. If you guys are interested, these are the looks that I created, and I had a blast making that video. So I don't know, it's kind of versatile. It's got your cool tone shades, it's got your warm tone shades, it's got some fun shimmers in it. What's not to love? It's Pat McGrath, it's luxurious, it's exciting. I'm here for it. Let's move on to the first palette, the most exciting palette to me that I've tried this summer season. And I actually tried this one all the way at the beginning of summer, so I've had a ton of time to play with it, and I have played with it quite a bit. And I think you guys are going to be very surprised because, first of all, it's a palette that I like more than Mothership number 10, right? Weird. And it is a travel size palette as well. It is also from Pat McGrath, and I am talking about the Midnight Voyage mini teeny tiny palette right here. This palette retails for $29, and as you can see, it is a bite-sized palette. Really small, very travel friendly, but for some reason this little tiny palette makes me so excited to pick it up. It has the best 2 matte shades a palette could ever ask for. This mid-tone transition-y brown shade right here, which will match any skin tone and look flattering on absolutely everyone. Plus it is a Pat McGrath matte formula made in Italy, so super creamy, super blendable. You can use it to build up intensity on the eye, or you can use it as a transition shade. Besides that, it's got something that is essential for me to really truly fall in love with the palette, and that is a burgundy shade. If you're new here, hi, I'm Patricia. I have a burgundy matte shade problem. Take a look at how intense that beautiful burgundy shade is, and like I said, you can smoke that out beautifully to not look anywhere as intense as this is, but you can also make it this intense, which I love. And I don't know, I feel like this shade is one of the shades that I wear on my eyes that is the most flattering with my eye color, and so every time a shade has this type of burgundy in it, I am personally obsessed. Now, besides those 2 stunning matte shades, this one also has some wonderful shimmers that pair very well with them. Take a look right here. These shades are stunning. And you know what's even crazier? I love my shimmers to have a lot of sparkle in them, and these shimmers right here aren't even that sparkly. They're kind of regular as shimmers, and still I love them. I just love the way that they pair with the mattes. I will say probably the thing I'm most excited about in this palette is the matte shades, because they are just so perfect. And the fact that this is a travel size Pat McGrath palette gets me, because Pat McGrath usually does not make travel friendly formulas. She usually makes her palettes very luxurious, very brick-like, very heavy, and usually I don't want to break a $128 palette. I just don't, right? So having a travel size Pat McGrath palette makes me very excited, because I can finally have her formula and take it with me wherever I want to go, right? Besides that, I feel like the color story of this palette is just perfection. It is $29, so it is nice and accessible as well. If you've been wanting to try the Pat McGrath formula, I see no better way to get started on your Pat McGrath journey than just trying out this little tiny palette right here, falling in love, thanking me later, etc., you know? I'm surprised myself that I would pick this palette as my most exciting palette of the summer, having these many amazing palettes that also came out at the same time. But honestly, it is what it is. I told you not to find a perfect logic to my ranking. This palette just excites me the most out of all of these, even more than what I'm wearing on my eyes right now. It's the burgundy. I'm pretty sure it's that burgundy. It's just a perfect burgundy, okay? Anyways, these are the 12 palettes I've tried this summer, ranked from worst to best, from least exciting to most exciting, I should say. And I cannot wait to see what you guys have to say about it. So please leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think about me picking this palette for my #1 choice. If you have yet to subscribe to my channel, please don't leave without subscribing. I would love to have you. I'm really trying to hit 75K, and hopefully you can help me get there soon, and also stay around for more videos. If you like this video, by the way, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And that is all I have for you guys today. I love you so much. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you back in the next video. Bye.